Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well, surviving the containment and not stressing too much with the enforced isolation. A number in our church recently have mentioned their favourite verses in the Bible, and one of mine is in the book of Hebrews and verses 1 to 3 of chapter 12. Let me just read them to you. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. And it's that second verse I particularly think is one of my favourites. It says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. I wonder this morning, who are you looking to at this time of crisis? Maybe you're looking to the scientists to come up with the answer, and hopefully not too long before we have a vaccine. Perhaps you're looking to the politicians to get the social distancing right? Or are you this morning looking to Jesus? And that's what I want just to think about just for a few moments this morning. Because when it says looking to Jesus, it reminds me of a passage in the Old Testament in the book of Numbers and chapter 21. The Israelites had been grumbling and complaining to God, and as a punishment he had sent a plague of poisonous snakes amongst them, and if they were bitten they would die. And so they asked Moses to pray to God, and Moses did that, and God told him to make a snake made out of bronze, put it on a pole, and told the people if they looked at that snake they would be healed and they wouldn't die. And those who believed Moses and God, they were saved. And Jesus refers to that event in John's Gospel chapter 3. And he says that just as Moses lifted up that snake of bronze, so he had to be lifted up in terms of being on the cross, so that whoever believed in him would be saved. And I trust this morning that we have all been looking to Jesus for salvation, but we must go on looking to him, because that verse says, looking unto Jesus, the author of our faith. You see, the writer in verse 1 compares the Christian life to a race. He says, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Now, most of you will know I know nothing about racing and running, and never have been. But when I watch it on TV, those who are taking part in the athletics races, they are totally dedicated to that finishing line. They're just looking at that finishing line, and they ignore everything else around them, and they sprint until they reach and cross that line. And so too, we must have our eyes fixed on Jesus, because he is the author, he's the pioneer, the starter of our faith. I've been reading recently in John's Gospel, which mentioned that Jesus says that we only come to him because the Father has drawn us to him. So he is the author of our faith. But thankfully, the verse doesn't stop there, because it says he is the finisher of our faith as well. Yes, we fail him, as we see in that verse 1. It says sin easily ensnares us, and we all know what that means, to sometimes fall into sin. But despite that, he is the perfecter, he's the finisher of our faith. He gives us that grace to continue and leads us through our Christian lives. So in these times of difficulty, of stress maybe, concern for the family and friends, are we looking to Jesus? I remember the story in Matthew's Gospel when Peter decided that he would get out of the boat and walk to Jesus on the water. And you can read that story for yourself in Matthew 14. But it says that when he saw the wind and he felt the waves and he took his eyes off Jesus, he began to sink. And so we too must keep our eyes on Jesus, not on our circumstances, not on even on this terrible virus that confronts us so much, because else we'll be like Peter, we'll begin to sink. But of course, when we do fail, Jesus is still there, as he was for Peter, because as Peter sank, he cried out, "Lord, save me," and Jesus reached out his hand and saved him and took him into the boat, and they were okay. Well, Jesus does the same for us, doesn't he? And now he is sat down in heaven, interceding for us. So then this morning, I trust that each one of us are looking to Jesus. Thank you.